I'm Katya from the Commonwealth Center for Holistic Herbalism here in Boston, Massachusetts. Today, Rin is at the International Herb Symposium, but I wanted to take a minute to talk about an important Tibetan holiday, which I probably won't pronounce quite correctly, but for Westerners, you can say Saga Dawa Duchen, and it's actually one of the most important holy days for Tibetan Buddhists. So Saga Dawa is a whole month-long celebration of doing good things or making merit in the Buddhist tradition. And today is the full moon of that whole month. So it's a real high point of the month's observances. So usually we tell you some cool herbs that are associated with a particular holiday, but Tibetan culture already has a very deep tradition of herbalism. And it's a very thorough and complete body of work. But the ecosystem in the Himalayan region is really fragile, and I don't feel like it's really appropriate for us to go seeking those plants because they're not abundant and they're not our tradition. And you know, they're in trouble. So I think it's better to let those plants be a system that we can admire and we can learn about, but that we don't seek to use for ourselves. But instead, we still can honor these traditions with the plants that are right here. So in the month of Saga Dawa, and especially on Saga Dawa Duchen, they're working, or the idea is around promoting good. And there are three key focuses of that for this holiday and also in Tibetan Buddhism in general. And those are the idea of generosity, which is referred to often as dana, and this idea of promoting peaceful community, which is sila, and also in meditation, which is referred to as bhavana. And so I thought that we could look at how we can use Western herbs that grow right here, to honor those traditions without imperiling plants from a region that is very fragile. So the first is generosity. And we can, of course, show generosity in many ways. And frankly, we live in times when it's so important to show generosity in every possible way that we can. But right now, especially in this time, I think it's very critical that we show generosity in our dealings with other people. So if we can be generous of spirit when other people around us are maybe not at their very best, then we can help relationships to relax. And in that relaxation, we can have better understanding, and we can build better understanding between people. And the funny thing is that the more that we understand each other, the more that we make allowances for that understanding, the easier it is for other people to find generosity in themselves as well. So your generosity can spread generosity in other people. But especially also in this time, it's not always easy to be generous, and especially to be generous of spirit. So what's something that we can do to help that? And one thing that I particularly love is to just make tea. And that might sound very silly or childish, or trivial is maybe the word I'm looking for here, but actually that act of making tea for yourself is self-care, and it allows you a moment to feel calm in your day. When you have that feeling of calmness, then you can find ways much more easily to be generous to the people around you. And of course, you can also be generous by making a cup of tea for someone else too. Whether you're making it for yourself or for someone else, I really recommend a blend of equal parts Tulsi, Chamomile, and Linden. And these are plants that we've talked about before for their ability to soothe the nervous system and uplift the spirits and just in general be very, very stress reducing. But I think that these three paired together is just so lovely, and plus they taste delicious. So if you're thinking about starting this ritual for yourself, which by the way is also showing generosity to your own self, so that's good too, then I would recommend that you do take care to sit quietly with your tea, right? So if you make a cup of tea and you sit and you enjoy it calmly and you allow it to be restorative and calming, that's one thing, and that's fantastic. But if you're anything like me, then perhaps you have ever made for yourself a cup of tea and then gone back to your desk to do your work, put the cup of tea on the desk, and then it gets cold, and then you realize 3 hours later that you didn't drink it. And so you just leave it till the next morning, and then you like dump it in the plant. And well, that's good because the plant likes tea too, but you didn't get that restorative and calming action in your body. So even though it's difficult in our culture, totally take the time to sit calmly. It only takes like 10 minutes to drink a cup of tea. So take the time to sit still. Don't check your email. Don't check your voicemail. Just sit calmly, maybe some nice music, and have your cup of tea, and then go back to your day. For those of you who might need a little bit of something to allow that to be possible in your life, I recommend a very interesting article in the Harvard Business Review, of all places, where they were pointing out that taking moments to do nothing but recover your energy will actually make you more productive. So I'm not necessarily advocating the "this thing will make you more productive" meme, but sometimes, especially in this culture, we do need some kind of justification that allows us to take a moment just to recover. And if you have that kind of a personality, or if you notice that about yourself, then go ahead. Harvard says this works. And so definitely go ahead and use that, right? Use that as your allowance to sit calmly for a little while, because taking that time to recover in a day will allow you to be generous of spirit to the people around you, which also, by the way, promotes peaceful community too. So there you go. That's awesome. We can promote peaceful community, though, not just between humans, but, and certainly there's a great deal of work to be done yet there, and it's critical and it's important, and we need to do that. But we can also recognize that community includes the whole planet, right? Whether we think about it or not, we are also in community with the plants and the animals and the dirt and the air and the water all around us. And we can think about our actions and how they affect our ecosystems when we're thinking about living in peaceful community. So when we apply that thinking to herbalism, we can think about maybe choosing to work with plants that are abundant, or some might even label them as invasive, and choosing not to work with plants that are rare or struggling so that they have a chance to recover. So one of my super favorite, super abundant plants is Purple Loosestrife. And Purple Loosestrife is listed as an invasive in lots of areas, but actually it's such an amazing plant. I just adore this plant. First off, it's beautiful. These gorgeous purple flowers that I just love to no end. But just to tell you some things that are so great about this plant, first off, pollinators love it. And we all know that our pollinators are in trouble. So anything that we can do to help them is great. And as an herb, it's fantastic for battling colds and flu, even some more serious illnesses than that. It has really pronounced antimicrobial activity. It's actually been studied quite a bit, and there's a lot of very strong effect there. It even has liver protective qualities, and I recently saw a study looking at it for helping to manage blood sugar levels. So there may be some more work that needs to be done there, but that was the first time that I had seen a study on that particular aspect, and it was very interesting to me. But ecologically, loosestrife is also a total superhero. Even though ecologically so many people are kind of vilifying it, it's actually fantastic there. Loosestrife is a wetland plant, and it has the ability to filter PCBs out of the water it's growing in. And it may actually even break those PCBs down into inert compounds. So this is definitely an area that should be looked into more. There have been several studies done on it, but that's amazing, fantastic news when we see a plant that's able to help us to repair damage that we've done to this planet. Then it definitely deserves the superhero title there. So loosestrife is a plant that can help us live more harmoniously and more peacefully in our whole earth community, and also in our health as well. And then the third aspect was meditation. And I highly recommend, if you don't have a meditation practice, I highly recommend trying to start one, even if it's not regular. I mean, obviously it's best if you can do a little bit every day, but even if not, just try it sometimes. It's difficult, but really amazing. As Westerners, it's not always easy to meditate. It's not always easy to sit still and try to get our minds empty. That's not exactly the goal anyway, but to just try to quiet our minds a little bit and not jump on every little thought that comes up. That's not easy in this culture. So guess what? There's an herb that will help with that, and it's calamus. There are some other ones that are great too, but calamus is always the one that comes right to mind for me. Calamus has a lot of amazing qualities for lots of different systems in the body, but I'm thinking really specifically about the ability to help the body shift from the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic, or the rest and digest state. So being able to make that shift when you're trying to sit quietly is going to make your time so much more successful and so much less painful. If you're all amped up and you're in your sympathetic state and you're sort of like in your fight or flight zone, then it's really hard to sit quietly and just be okay with sitting quietly for a little while. But if you're in your rest and digest state, you're able to expand your thinking more, you're able to sit calmly more easily, and to just let the mind relax and unwind a little bit. Calamus is also a really great warming digestive bitter and really improves digestive function, which is not surprising at all if you think about that shift into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest state. That's really what's required for you to be able to digest your food optimally. So calamus, awesome for eating, but an awesome help for meditating. So definitely give that a shot. So there we go. We have herbs that can help you with generosity, with living peacefully in community, and with meditation. So I'll just say happy Saga Dawa Duchen, and also go out and make somebody a cup of tea. Do it today. It will be so lovely, and you can just think happy thoughts about building more good things and promoting more good and making more merit in the world right now. I think that's just absolutely beautiful. See you later.